Hey, it's Algebra Readiness time, and we are going through our last lesson that we're going to be doing on Chapter 10. Okay? Chapter 10, 5. We're doing problems 1 through 16 today, and we're working on the final concept that we're going to be going over this year. Okay? So this is the last one we have to learn. This is all about what we talk about, a slope. Okay? So when we graph a line on our coordinated graph, you know, where we have our 4 quadrants, and we make an angle line, that angle is known as a slope, okay? Now, in the math community, they call it finding slope. You take the rise, like the rising of the sun, right? The rise, the up and down, and we put that on top, the rise over the run. Like you're running in a track, run, you go across the track, right? So the rise over the run. Well, we know that when we do our coordinate pairs here, and we have our axis lines, the up and down line is the y, that's the rise, okay? The rise is your y, and then the run, the across line, is your x, okay? So we have rise and then we have a run. So Mr. Lindblad, what does that mean? Why do we need to do that? Okay, well, for instance, okay, let's say that you wanted to find out how much of a slope you needed to have if you had a deck that was up here and you had a building right here and the deck come out here, and then you wanted to know what kind of a slope that you needed to make it safe for you to build a ladder up to that deck. Okay? Basically, this is kind of like here. We could figure out how tall this is, how far over that is, and with that, we could figure out what kind of a slope we needed to make our stairs in. That's the practical use. How do we do it when we're working with our coordinated pairs on our grid? Okay, so all of today's lesson, we won't need to graph it so much as that we'll need to be able to read a graph a little bit, and then there's two kind of not normal kinds of things, two things that don't have really to deal with it. Okay, when we talked about x-intercept and y-intercept, remember when we talked about those two things and you put them on a graph? So like if we just said x equals 5, okay? These are the exceptions to the rule. Whenever you have x equals 5 or y equals like 3, you have a different situation, okay? I'm telling you these things, I'm gonna sneeze, excuse me. I'm telling you these things because they give us a couple of problems like that on our lesson today, and we need to know how to figure those out. Okay, and you need to know how to tell me what the answer is, okay? So the exceptions, right? Those are the ones that I always call it. If x is 5, then we go over to where 5 is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If x is 5, then we have all of our y points going here. Whenever we do that, we don't have a slope, okay? So that's called an undefined slope. When it's an up and down line, undefined is up and down. Okay, well, let's look at when y is 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, when y is 3, we have a much better line than that. It's straight, doesn't have a bend in it. But that means there's all the x points that we could want. This one, when we have y, that's called no slope, because it's a flat line. It doesn't slope up or down. It stays even and level with the surface. When it goes straight up and down, we can't figure out what the slope is. It's undefined. The other one is, not no slope. It's zero slope, Undefined, up and down. Going across, it's zero slope. Let me get that right. Make sure you pay attention to that. That's zero slope. There's nothing making it go angle at all. Okay, those are the two easy exceptions. 2 and 3 on your practice today will either be undefined or zero slope. You'll have to determine. Look at the lines, check it out. up and down is undefined across. This is the zero slope. Let me write that on there so you can see it. So zero slope going across, undefined going up and down. Okay, I said that about 4 times now, so you should have that. So what happens when we have an angled line? How do we figure that out? Well, you can take any 2 points on that line and figure it out. So 2 ordered pairs. So let's say I have the ordered pairs of 4, 5 for 1 point on that line, and then the other ordered pair is 2, 2. Okay? So we recall x's are the first number, y's are the second number. So the way you find the slope out of that is you take this. I don't care which one you use first, all right? I don't care which one you use first. You can use this y first or this y first. It doesn't matter. The whole thing is, though, it's take y of 1 minus y of the second one, and then you put it over x of the first one that you used minus x of the second one you used. Now this is really important. If I start with this ordered pair for my y's, I have to start with the same ordered pair for my x's, okay? Because if I don't, then it gets mixed up, right? So if I started with this one, I'm going to say 5 minus, this is the first ordered pair, 5 minus 2 over, and then I go back to the first ordered pair for my x. I don't start with this one. I go with this one. 4 minus 2. And when I do that, 5 minus 2 is 3. 4 minus 2 is 2. We leave it as an improper fraction. But that's our slope right there. And I can tell it was a positive answer, so I have a positive slope. Okay? So that's what it is. That's how we do it. You won't have to draw any graphs today. And actually, I'm going to tell you to skip problem number 4 on today's lesson. Don't do it. The one where it says find the error, forget about that one. Just do 1, 2, and 3, and then do 5 through 16. Okay? The rise, or y from the first ordered pair minus y from the second ordered pair over x from the first ordered pair minus x from the second ordered pair. Now, this gets kind of tricky because then they start throwing in negative signs. So let's do a couple of those that we would have on our assignment today, so I'm sure that you can figure out and understand. Now, remember, anytime that you have your bottom or your top end up in 0, you're not going to have a slope, or your slope, you're going to have 0 slope, or it's going to be undefined. Okay, so undefined, an undefined slope would be when y is 0. When y ends up being 0, then we have an undefined slope. Okay, 0 slope, I always want to put 0 and then spell 0. 0 slope will be the answer when x ends up being 0. Okay? Let's look at it. Let's try one with a lot of negatives in it. Let's look at number 9. It gives us 2 ordered pairs there. It gives us -9, -2 in the first ordered pair, and then it gives us -7, -3. Okay, this becomes tricky because you got to watch out for your signs and switch them appropriately. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Remember, y goes up on top, so I'm going to take -2 minus, and then parentheses, -3. Okay? Don't forget to bring the negative down and then put a negative sign in front. Then I'm going to go back to the one I started with, and x goes on the bottom, -5 minus a -7. Now, if you can recall, the opposite of -3 would be positive. It's like add the opposite. You remember that when we did that with integers? We add the opposite. So now that the signs are opposite, I subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 was larger, so that's positive. 9 and 7. 9's larger. 9 minus 7 is 2, and since 9 was larger, I got to keep the negative there. So in this situation, the answer to number 9 is actually, the slope is negative 1/2. Okay? That's how we do that. Take the ordered pairs. Remember, we're going to take the y and put it on top. y1 minus y2, x1 minus x2. Remember, whichever ordered pair you start off with, that's that's the one you're going to stay with. Let me also show you, we just did this problem, but let me show you that it wouldn't have mattered if we would have started off with using the second set of ordered pairs. Okay, so the same answer here, but let's look at 9 again. But this time, let's use this one as the first number, and I'll show you it doesn't matter. You've got -3 minus a -2 now, and then -7 minus a -9. Watch what happens. Add the opposite, add the opposite. -3, +2, that gave me a -1 here. -7, +9, that gives me a +2 here. I still get a -1/2. It doesn't matter. As long as you remember, I'm going to use this one as my first digit and then this one as my first digit down there, or use the other ordered pair. I like to use the first ordered pair. It's easy. First ordered pair, okay, that one, the y goes on top, then go over to the other ordered pair, match it with the other y, and subtract them. Okay, let's try another one. Look at number 10. Let's just do the next one. -5, comma, -4 for the first ordered pair. -5, comma, -7 for the second ordered pair. How do we do this? Well, we go to the first. I always like to use the first one. -4 minus, parentheses, -7. There's my y's. Now, both of these are the same, so it doesn't matter. -5 minus -5. Add the opposite. Now, +7 minus 4, that gives me 3. Add the opposite. -5 plus 5, that gave me 0. Uh-oh. I got x as a 0. So my answer is, when x is 0, my answer will be 0 slope. And I just told you wrong. No. This should be x, this should be y. Okay. When x is 0, it is undefined. So the answer to number 10 is undefined. I knew I would mess that up. Okay. So this is the right way to think about it. When x is 0, we have an undefined slope. When y is 0, we have 0 slope. Okay? Remember this part here. So remember, x will always be on the bottom of our fraction. So whenever that becomes 0, that's a 0. So there's only one other one, and it's other one that we have a 0 in it, and it's the y one. So you're going to have another answer that has 0 slope in it. Let's do one more problem, just so that we make sure we got it. So that was number 10. It was undefined. Let's do number 15 to finish up. 15. 20, comma, -18 for our first ordered pair. 1, comma, -2 for our second ordered pair. Put the y's on top. So I got -18 minus, parenthesis, -2, because 2 is a negative. Next one, I go 20 minus, and that one didn't have a negative in front, so it's just 1. So add the opposite here. We got to change the sign. Since the signs are different, subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. 18 minus 2 is 16. And since -18 was larger, we keep the negative sign. 20 minus 1 is 19. There it is, -16 over 19. That's it. Okay, good luck with this. Review it if you have to. This is rise over run to find the slope. The only thing I didn't talk to you about in math, they've somehow, for slope, they've always assigned the letter M. So whenever you see the letter M in our formula, if it's a formula for slope, that's the slope. Okay, that's where we find it. All right, good luck on this, and see if you can get her finished up. All right, have a good day.